Hello and welcome to the Lines 2024 NFL preview, rolling along here with the New England Patriots. Matt Brown, Stephen Andress coming to you guys. Everything to do absolutely free. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, give us a little thumbs up. Let us know in the comment section. Oh boy, if you're a New England fan, I'm just gonna let you in on it. Maybe don't let us know what you think in the comment section after you watch this video, but everybody else, let us know what you think here in this video. Talking the New England Patriots, Stephen, as we know, Gerard Mayo in at head coach. No more Bill Belichick. Alex Van Pelt comes over from Cleveland as a new offensive coordinator over there, and DeMarcus Covington is elevated from the defensive line coach position there in New England as the new defensive coordinator. This team was 4-13 a year ago. So what do you do when you're 4-13, Stephen? You know exactly what you do. You go out and you draft yourself a franchise quarterback, and that's what they hope they got in Drake May with the number 3 overall pick in the second round. They continue on the offensive side of the ball as needed. They didn't have much at the wide receiver position, so Jalen Polk comes in at the wide receiver position there in their second round pick. They get a couple of offensive linemen with their next couple of picks, another wide receiver in the 4th round, and then it gets into the 6th and 7th round, which, by the way, they did take Joe Milton in the 6th round. Drake May, obviously quarterback of the future, but just an interesting pickup there for them as they did take Joe Milton in the 6th round from Tennessee, a guy that a ton of upside, but age and injuries and all the different stuff that's going on with him there. Stephen, projected to be one of the worst teams in the NFL with just a 4.5 win total.
Twitter already loving themselves some Joe Milton with all his backflips, that's for sure. There's some reports that he's tearing up the 3rd string, which probably means nothing. But, if you're a Patriots fan, you're watching this, I will at least say I think there's a chance that they can at least be competitive this year. I don't think they're as far away from just being a competitive team as a lot of the odds and projections and opinions out there may reflect. And we'll get into that a little bit here. But it certainly is a bottom of the barrel win total, and obviously they're at the bottom of all the futures odds and every which way you look at it going into the season.
Yeah, they are. I mean, we could list off the astronomical numbers here, but I mean, they're last in everything. They're the longest Super Bowl shot. They're the longest in the AFC. They're the longest in the division. Various massive numbers attached to their name, and see, it's a twofold thing, really, right? It's one, they are fairly devoid of talent, and the talent they do have is very young, and so you can't just expect, which we all know, Drake May's not even going to start. They bring in Jacoby Brissett in free agency, and it looks like Jacoby Brissett is going to start from day one, so that's kind of where they're at there. Antonio Gibson, a running back they brought in Austin Hooper at the tight end position. They brought in Okorafor at tackle, KJ Osborne, again, there's kind of retread type stuff going on with their pickups in free agency. I mean, I think this is a full-on tear-down rebuild situation for New England. I expect them to be the worst team in the NFL. I think that there is a very, very high chance that they could go under this win total. If you look at this schedule, Cincinnati, Seattle, Jets, San Francisco, Miami, Houston, Jacksonville, Jets again. They are going to be pretty big dogs in every game through the first 7 weeks of for the first 8 weeks of the season. And then finally they get a game at Tennessee, Stephen, but that is on the road. They'll still be a dog, but it won't be as bad. And then another game in which, depending on how Caleb Williams in Chicago ends up playing, we don't really know exactly what the spread's going to look like, but that is also a roadie at Chicago as well. I mean, this is a team pretty obvious to me that you would want to be betting like last winless team, that you would want all of those things like that. Because like I said, they're going to be healthy dogs first 8 weeks of the season.
The way I like to look at it is look at these spreads that we have out for each of the games, see how many they're likely to win, see how many they're likely to lose, and which are coin flip games. Likely to win if you're a 3-point favorite or better, likely to lose if you're a 3-point underdog or worse. So the win total sitting at 4.5 with a lot of juice towards the over actually right now, -160 as we record this on August the 1st. You can get +130 on under 4.5 wins. And if you go game by game right now based on spreads going into the season, they are projected to be a 3-point favorite or better in 0 games. Even the toss-up games inside that 3-point key number, there's only 4 of them. They are projected to lose 3-point underdog or worse in 13 of their 17 games going into the season.
Yeah.
So just immediately you look at that and you wonder, well, how on earth are they getting to 5 wins? And I wouldn't blame you for thinking that, but for some reason the market is sitting at plus 130 for under 4.5. So that immediately gets my attention. I guess, Matt, just the only pause I'm having is, and we'll get into the offense and the defense, but the only pause I'm having is, what if Drake May is good in the second half of the season and they have games against Will Levis and the Titans, a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams, a bad Colts defense, a really bad Arizona defense, a really bad Chargers defense, and who wants to run the ball as much as the Patriots do? So I think that's the only way you get backdoor beat on an under on the Patriots situation, just with that uncertainty of a highly touted quarterback prospect.
Yeah, I feel you. I guess here's my thing. If you want to bet an over, dude, you do that do it like week 7. They're going to be 0-6. I mean, like they're going to be 0-6. And so that 4.5 is going to end up being 3.5, maybe even a flat 3. And so if you want to play an over on them and you're kind of bet on the come, which is betting on the come that Drake May's any good, then you just do that after week 6. I mean, could they figure out a way to maybe beat Jacksonville? Maybe. I mean, it's a weird deal. It's an overseas, it's an overseas game and all of that. So like we've seen weird things happen, overseas and all that. So I mean, like week 7 is kind of like my cutoff point of where I'm like, okay, squirrely things could happen, right? I mean, anytime you get outside the country and stuff like that, but like they're going to be 0-6. Like this team is an 0-6 team for sure, in my opinion. And then you go in, and the problem that I have with betting the over mainly is because those games you say, most of their easy games are on the road. Like they don't get any easy. The only easy game they get at home, and I say easy as in like it's not a killer, it's going to be the Colts. And who knows, by week 13, what if Anthony Richardson has turned into an actual real NFL quarterback, right? And like, what if Jonathan Taylor behind that awesome offensive line they've got is just a truck? And like, so I don't know.
Both loves Shane Steichen, thinks Steichen's a wizard.
And so I just find it very tough. Like I was looking at the games in which I'm like, okay, what games can they win? Certainly they can beat Tennessee in a vacuum, right? I mean, like that's it. It's on the road. Certainly they can beat the Bears in a vacuum. They could beat the Colts in a vacuum, and they could beat Arizona in a vacuum, and they could beat the Chargers in a vacuum. But those are the only 5 games that I look at and say are really, truly winnable games, Stephen. And so that means they would have to win every single one of those games in order to get over this 4.5, because you look at those other ones that are filling games. Like I'm higher on the Rams than most people are. Maybe if someone wants to try to talk me into saying they could beat the Rams, okay, but I don't think so. Like I like this Rams team. I think this Rams defense is going to be much better, and I think that this offense proved last year that they're going to be good. Then it's Miami, then it's Buffalo again in that second half and all that. So even if Drake May's good, it's really tough games with a team that just doesn't have a ton of talent.
I haven't been watching line movement on these win totals as closely. Have you been at all? Like, is this minus 160 on over 4.5? Is this just like close to the open price, or is this actually books getting hit on the over?
Well, there's a little bit of movement, but the thing is like every single time there's the lowest number on the board, the over always gets bet because everybody goes, it's the NFL, it's impossible. How can you only win 4 games? And I go, well, how about this? Last year. They only won 4 games last year. I mean, like they went 4-13 season ago.
Mac Jones and a bunch of other crap quarterback play, right? So
sure, and I mean, I guess you could convince me that Jacoby Brissett is an upgrade over Mac Jones. Sure, I guess you could. All
right, so let's get into that then. Let's get in with the offense because we're both clearly bearish on over 4.5 wins here. We both like plus 130 on the under. So let's get into this a little bit because at least in the early going with Jacoby Brissett, Matt, I do think they can be competitive. Now, I'm changing the context of this conversation from winning games to maybe covering spreads as hefty underdogs here. So
which is fine. That's a fine discussion because again, I don't like them. I don't like them winning games, but does that mean they can't be competitive? I won't go that far. I'll put it that way.
Right. So let me preface everything I'm about to say with That +9 week one against Cincinnati against what was one of the worst defenses in the league last year has my attention. So let's talk about this at least offensively. This is obviously where there's the most question marks in my mind with New England. You have a new offensive coordinator, but clearly Alex Van Pelt's got to be an upgrade over two fake offensive coordinators that had never been offensive coordinators last year with Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. So that's an upgrade. Van Pelt in Cleveland is a guy who is one of the coaches that will tailor his scheme around the talent and the players he has. It was on full display when he made Joe Flacco off the couch last year look pretty solid, changing from a run-heavy approach to one of the most pass-heavy approaches late in the year. So I like the fact that he's flexible and is willing to make changes and adjustments in season, maybe even in-game. I think a part of that might be play action. Cleveland used a lot of play action last year. New England did not, even though when they did, New England was very efficient in using it. So I think there's a coaching upgrade here with the offensive coordinator. With Jacoby Brissett, listen, the offensive line for the Patriots is going to be really bad. It looks brutal. They are projected to be one of the bottom 5 units. They brought in a tackle from Pittsburgh, Okorafor, who is supposed to play left tackle. He's only played 2 snaps his entire career at left tackle, and he was the number 55 graded right tackle in the league last year. So I don't know how this is going to go, but Brissett at least has experience with playing behind a really brutal offensive line and having at least some offensive success. We saw it with Washington last year, scored 20 against the Rams, scored 28 against an elite Jets defense late in the season. So I think with Brissett, you're not getting above average quarterback play by any means, but you're not getting bottom of the barrel either. Among 37 quarterbacks with at least 700 snaps over the past 3 years, he was 20th in adjusted EPA, 12th in completion percentage over expected, despite being top 10 in air yards. And he did that on 3 different teams. So
but
can he be competitive, Matt?
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. 3 different teams, but 3 different teams with exponentially more talent than this Patriots team has.
Washington?
And that is,
well,
and that's
two,
my
2 games with Washington. So
like that. It is my. That's the thing about Jacoby Brissett that I think it's like a little bit of smoke and mirrors and all this. Like, is he an upgrade? Is he an upgrade? Sure. But the thing is he was playing with just much better players. This tackle situation is going to be miserable for him. I think that it is going to be. There's a reason they're not starting Drake May. Like it is. It has nothing to do with Drake May's skill set, because in this day and age, Stephen, we've seen this already. Teams feel like, and I think it's the right approach. I mean, the change in philosophy over the course of the years, but experience is more important than sitting on the sideline and absorbing and stuff like that. Like the days of the Jordan Love type stuff and everything like that, unless you have a Hall of Famer in front of you, playing reps and getting used to the speed of the NFL and all of that. And even if you throw a ton of picks and you throw it, look no further than Peyton Manning's rookie season, guys. Like, look at that. We remember Peyton Manning in the height of his powers and all of the ridiculously awesomeness that was Peyton Manning. Look at his rookie season on a very bad Colts team. He was miserable. They were miserable, but he got the reps, and that's what everybody found important. They're not doing this on purpose. Like they know, like this is going to be a putrid team, Steve. Like they know that is the reason they are not putting Drake May.
He'll get killed first month of the season.
Yeah, like they know. And so I look at the Patriots almost like I looked at the Jets from last year, which is a defense that I don't think a lot of people are just going to run up and down the field on, right? Like I don't think this. There's enough talent between Judon and Christian Gonzalez comes back at the corner position. Jones is a good corner. You look at they got Peppers in the secondary. Like there's a lot here. We'll see what ends up happening with the Barmore situation. He's had an unfortunate medical thing that's going on right now. He's a stud on the defensive line, but like there's enough talent on this defense where it's not just going to be teams just running up and down the field on them. But I think like low scoring games, looking at unders, looking at that a lot with this Patriots squad, I think they're going to be 10 points, 13 points like expected every game out of this team. And then I don't know how many other points the other teams are really going to be scoring either. Yeah,
I think I am more confident in the Patriots defense than the market at this point. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought up the defense because I think they're getting slept on a little bit. This was the number 2 most injured team in the NFL last year. Mm-hmm. Despite that, the Patriots still finished top 10 by EPA and success rate defensively with having, putrid quarterback play and putting them in bad spots over and over again. If we look at 2024 projections, PFF has the defensive line number 15. Sharp has the front seven at 18. I think that's maybe a little too low. I mean, they get Matt Judon back. Christian Barrymore had the scary blood clot situation in camp, but Gerard Mayo did say he does anticipate him coming back at some point here once he gets that sorted out, probably gets on the right medication, etc. And this is a defensive line unit that was 6th in run stop win rate a year ago. The secondary split, if you look at projection sites, PFF only had him 21. Sharp has him 7th. I don't think they're 21. I think when healthy, this is a really strong secondary. Christian Gonzalez looked awesome last year before he got injured. Like Tyreek Hill was singing his praises after getting held to 5 catches and 40 yards in week 2.
Jonathan Jones is good.
There you go.
Jabril 21 Peppers is
overall. Good. Yeah, they're all good. Yeah. They're great. So I think this defense is going to keep them in games. Like you said, look at maybe some unders week to week. Maybe this defense allows them to cover big spread games. Like I mentioned, week 1, 9 points against Cincinnati. Like that's going to have my attention because as flawed as the Patriots are offensively with a ton of question marks and youth and a bad offensive line, the same can be said about Cincinnati's defense. So it's kind of like good on bad versus good on bad, both sides of the ball, whoever has possession in that game. So those are the situations I'm looking for with New England where I might be interested in taking the Pats to cover a big spread.
Yeah, for me, I have them fewest wins. So I am all out on this. So I have them fewest wins in the NFL. I have them last winless team. I have the under 4.5. I'm actually playing an alt under 3.5 as well on this team just to see. Listen,
I'm going to fire the under wins too. It makes too much. At plus 130, I can't believe that. And then, like you said, maybe after week 5 or 6, maybe see what the price is then and middle it.
Yeah, you can play a middle because I am pretty confident in an 0-6 start. And, listen, they lose to Jacksonville, then they're going to lose again to the Jets. So, I mean, it could very well be an 0-8 start for this team. And so if you have an under, you might be able to have a pretty juicy middle situation whenever they decide to make the change at quarterback to Drake May. I don't know if they would do that as a road game. These franchises tend not to want to do that. And they have the dreaded week 14 bye, and I say dreaded because for a team that will be looking to make a quarterback change, you would much rather have a bye week in the middle of the season. As opposed to one of these super late bye weeks, because if they had the bye week between 8 and 9, we know exactly when Drake May would be playing, right? Like we know exactly when he would come in and all this, but like out at week 14, do you really start him in his first game on the road at Tennessee? Well, that sucks. If you don't do that, then you got to wait 2 weeks because you're certainly not going to do it on the road in Chicago. So now it's like back home in week 11. So there's just a lot for them to try and figure out as to when they're going to work him into the offense and all that.
And their Thursday game is week 3. So you get a mini bye. And the next game is at San Francisco. Like that's not a good spot either. Yeah. So I don't know where they're going to roll them out. My guess would be week 9 at Tennessee. Maybe week 7 at home. Actually, I think, is that a London game, week 7?
Yeah. The Jacksonville game's overseas. Yeah.
So I mean, maybe Drake May makes his NFL debut in a different country. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, maybe so. But it's just it's a brutal situation. I mean, like on top of not having any talent, on top of having to, at some point, work in a rookie quarterback, you also just have the schedule that is just not favorable for you. You start off with really and truly 8 very, very losable, very likely loss games, and your bye doesn't come until week 14. It's just like everything working against this Patriots team this year. Rookie head coach. I mean, like just all of the things that could be going against the team are going against this team. So, like I said, I have fewest wins in the NFL. I have last winless teams. I have under on all of that. I did set a reminder in my calendar to look at their record after, to look at their win total after week 8, because I do think there could be a chance to put in some sort of middle. So, if you want to set yourself a calendar reminder, if you want to tail us on the under 4.5, but I think that there is just a lot of opportunity to fade a team that, Stephen, at the end of the day, right, what you don't want to do is screw around and win like 6 games. And then you don't have the number 1 pick. And because the thing is, you already got your quarterback. If you hold that number 1 pick, now you get to trade it for a boatload of stuff, which you need. Like this team needs a lot, right? Like this team needs that number 1 pick. Yeah. Like This team needs that number 1 pick desperately so that they can trade it to somebody and get a lot in return, because they need multiple picks and multiple bodies. Like, this team is 2 years away from being able to compete. Like, they're just not enough talent on the team. And so it's a situation where you can't screw around and win 6 games either. You know, like you gotta be in that. You got to be in that 3 or 4 win. You got to be in the mix for the number 1 overall pick so that you can get a king's ransom for it. So lots of things here for this Patriot squad that I'm looking to bet against. On a week-to-week basis, though, like we said, I'm going to always look towards an under and try to talk myself into a reason that maybe this thing could possibly go over. But I think on any given week, Stephen, unless they are playing the absolute nut-low defense in the NFL, you should be looking at this team as like a 13-point offense, and then do I swing this a couple of points this way or a couple of points this way, depending on who they're playing. It's just not going to be explosive. There's just not the playmakers there to get it done. And so I think unders could be an interesting look, at least early on in the season, until everything adjusts to the team that we're looking at.
Final thought for me, this is the point in the show sometimes where we share some season-long player props, things like that. There's not many on the board. We don't know who the number 1 receiver is going to be. Ramondre Stevenson is going to be battling Antonio Gibson, it looks like, at least for some work. We don't know how long Jacoby Brissett's going to be. So there's literally nothing out there.
Word is rookie wide receiver Jalen Polk could actually be their number 1 wide receiver, because that is how bad the wide receiver room is that their second-round rookie might actually just have to step in and be number 1, you know?
Yeah, it seems like him and Demario Douglas are the best chances to start right away.
So
that's all I got, man. I got nothing else. Like there's literally no props available on this team going.
Yeah, no, it's brutal, guys. Obviously, if we have any updates to any of these teams along the way, we'll add videos to the channel. But it's the reason you want to subscribe. We're going through each and every team throughout the course of the off season here, and as these get posted to YouTube, as long as you're subscribed, it'll show up in your feed. If you want to go ahead and set alerts as well, that can help you be the first ones to see all of this stuff. These numbers could change, so that's why we talk about them now. That's why we're going in and we're trying to take advantage of some of the stuff we can early on here in the season. People haven't quite shifted their attention to the NFL yet, so all of this stuff still available, all this stuff still out there to get done. For Stephen, I am Matt. Good luck on all your Patriots bets.